Okay. Okay, I am Amanda Kimball.
Carrie Peabody.
Kathy Fear.
Brittany Green.
Okay.
Involved in this issue. I guess it's kind of interesting because he talked about, what was it, the decadent democracy, and he had so many different problems that he talked about. It was hard. I guess we just pick one of them. What's your opinion?
I think, to me, the gist of it was that we have become a welfare state. We become dependent on the government.
Yeah.
If we don't change that, it's not going to be a good thing. I mean, if we all are dependent on the federal government.
And they took over because of us becoming like the welfare state. I remember that. So I guess why did they get involved? Is it because they had to pay money back? Do you think they were becoming?
That's what it sounds. Yeah. We made that comment about Rockefeller could have paid off the debt and Bill Gates was only paid interest.
Yeah, that was
which
interesting.
Means we're severely in debt.
That was a good one.
Yeah, which tells you that we're in severe debt right now, and they're going to do everything they can to pay off that debt, and that means getting everybody on welfare or whatever, or taxes.
More taxes. Okay, so that's why they got involved?
Yeah, probably to pay off the debt.
Hi guys, sorry.
Hey, how are you?
Did I mention that Washingtonians do not know how to drive when it pours down rain? I am so sorry. I was supposed to. Who's asking questions? I'm sorry. I was supposed to lead, and then, well, you know, when you're sitting in a mile of traffic because nobody knows how to drive, well.
You can start now. We're starting with number 2 now, if you want to read that. Or do you want me to?
Because I just fired up my computer, so I don't even have the questions up. I mean, I ran in, sat down, turned it on. So here I am.
Well, we can go over question 1 again. You guys might have some more input for it. It's, why did the government get involved in this issue? And are we kind of talking about taxes on this particular issue that we chose, or
in the debt?
Sounds like it.
In the schools? Or, I'm sorry, let me pull the questions up. Come on, kitty. And my cat wants attention. Oh.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Just to recap, we talked about the government being involved in because we're a welfare state, and they are creating taxes to compensate for the money that is owed. It's kind of what we talked about. So if you have any comments on the first one.
No, I agree. Absolutely. They're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. You covered it right there.
Okay. It's perfect. Okay, so has it been effective, and what have been the results?
So it's been effective in like spurts, like it can be effective, but not overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's created an inequality in income with the taxes because of who they tax and who they don't tax. So, yes and no. That's kind of a hard question.
So there's important things that are covered with taxes, but there's so much waste, and there's too much of it used to garner votes in the future, and there's misuse and there's corruption, and so the good that it does is overshadowed by all of the corruption. and the misuse.
Yes.
And it's out of balance. There's less good than bad that comes from it.
And that's the keeping the corruption is the main thing. There's so much corruption.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Based on George Willis' speech, what could the government be doing right now to help the situation more effectively?
Well, I think he kept saying we need to not become dependent on the government. So I think get people off of welfare and government programs.
Kind of change the way people think. I think you're right.
And the church.
You know what I find
Go ahead, Kathy.
I find interesting is if you're on state assistance, they don't make it productive for you to get off. They kind of penalize you if you try and get off. But at the church, they do the opposite. They want you to get off and they make you self-reliant.
And that's what I was going to say, that the church has a good program. When you need assistance, they really encourage you to work to help yourself. I know because when I was younger, in my first marriage, I needed assistance, and they really, the bishop really encouraged my ex-husband to work. He hated immensely to help us, and that was a very empowering feeling for me as a spouse to know that instead of just having that everything handed to us, that we were working to be self-sustained. Does that make sense?
Well, there's a level of self-respect that remains when you work for something as opposed to having it handed to you.
Yeah.
And we don't have, so I'm Relief Society president right now, and I have to fill out food orders, and we don't make people work for the food orders, but there's a conversation. Instead of filling out paperwork, there's conversations that go on, and which is far more effective, which I'm not sure how realistic it is to think that the government could sit down and have conversations in order to hand out assistance. But there's such a huge emphasis put on self-reliance in the church, and then from self-reliance you go to your family, and then you go to the church. But
yeah.
One thing I was sorry.
Go ahead.
My daughter served a mission in Tennessee, and she said they are perpetually on welfare because each generation doesn't know any different, so they just keep continuing it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that in Tennessee.
Do you remember McCain's quote that he talked from McCain? What was it? No one washes a rental car.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I love that saying. I was just thinking that's so true. There's no ownership, so they're not as careful with the program. So
yeah.
It's kind of like how Kathy said here in Alabama too. Once you get on like those kind of welfare programs, not only do you not want to get off, but I know that a lot of my friends, even who are on it, it kind of becomes expected. They feel like they do deserve it right now, but I mean, not forever.
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Well, that's probably another thing is they don't have to work for this, so they don't feel like they have any ownership in it, and so they don't treat it real,
Right. I can say, so, sorry, the cat. Ow! Darn it, cat. Sorry, my cat just bit my neck. She was not paying attention. The similar to that, not saying that we're on welfare, but like, my husband and I are on disability, okay? Because both of us are disabled. Now, my husband, he has early onset Alzheimer's. He cannot work. I have fibromyalgia, and arthritis and a heart condition and such. But like I told my mom, it doesn't mean that that's the end of my life. And that's why I chose to go to school, because I felt that I'm still young enough that I cannot stop living, and I need to be able to figure out how I can contribute to society. So being disabled at my age drove me crazy, and I needed to figure out. When the Pathway program came along, I said, this is the answer to my prayers, and this way I can maybe figure out how maybe I can work from home or something. And so when I watched this and listened, it made me feel like I'm no longer taking, and I'll be able to give. Does that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so number 3 asks specifically, what could the government be doing? So does anybody have a exact answer for that? What could they be doing to improve it?
Well,
Be less involved in these programs. I mean, so
and
So
encourage people like this, like the church encourages people to go back to school. Can't the government encourage people to get an education?
I think the government wants people to get an education. The problem with the government is they don't want people, they want to hand out everything. They want to pay school to be paid for. They want people's food to be paid for. They just want to hand it all out. And I think that the motives are good most of the time. It's just not realistic. You just can't keep giving things away and expect there to still be money. And you could give 100 people $1,000, and maybe one of them is going to save that money. The rest of them are going to probably squander it.
It's that old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so
I think
the government needs to stop trying to make money off of
the people.
The government is not a for-profit operation, and that's what it's turned into.
Yeah.
So take away government power, give people more power is probably the answer that we're coming up with, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question, Dr. Will cites a problem no one wants to talk about. With Brom-Fender-Brenner's model, how is this issue impacting children, families, communities, and our nation? So I know the macro would be like the national level, so maybe taxes would be one way that affects people.
Taxes and regulation.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
let's see.
About retirees, there used to be 45 to every retiree. Now there's only 3. Social Security is not going to be there for those of us that don't
So that's a great way that it affects the people and versus the government. What's that, meso? I can't remember. Meso?
So
Yeah, I think so.
Ow.
So I guess how it would affect a child, how would it affect a child?
Well,
individually or a family?
well, I mean,
it's an indirect effect when you think about it, and because when you have a child that when it affects the family, okay. So, for example, the parent's not working, and the child sees that the parent is not working. The parent's home all the time. The child comes home, the parent's not there. They're living off of the welfare system, and it's how the child sees. That's how the parent's living, and they they're like, well, okay, so this is how my mom's living, and if that's how they see life is how life's supposed to be, and they don't see a way of getting out of it, then they're going to perpetuate that. I have an example. My son's best friend, Maisie, she's like a daughter to me. She sees her mom, how her mom lives. She doesn't want to perpetuate that. So she's pushing herself. Her mom's a drug addict and lives off the system. Maisie doesn't want to live that way. She's pushing herself to AP classes. She wants to go to college. She's pushing herself. Her little sister, on the other hand, care less. So you see the difference between the two, how it affects the children. So that's how that system works, and how it affects the children in a direct and indirect way.
So one way I can see how taxes would affect the children is perhaps their family might have less opportunities because of the money their parents have to pay for taxes.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
just very basic. It's interesting. What did he say the tax breaks were? I mean, even for childcare taxes, it's like the people who are in the hundreds in salary get more breaks for childcare than the people who are lower income get breaks for childcare. It was interesting.
Right.
I can see how it would affect the family. Maybe the kid can't join soccer because they have to pay more taxes. They have to be more thrifty as a family. I mean, it could be all kinds of things.
Yeah, and that's how it is.
When someone welfare, they don't want you to succeed, because if you try and go out and make money, they take money away from you.
Mm-hmm.
On disability, if you go out and get a job, they cut your disability because you're making money, and so it's kind of like they want you to be dependent on them.
Very true.
Yep.
Okay, should we go to the next one? According to Dr. Will, one thing you can do for your country is reserve a spacious portion of your life for which your country is not responsible. Reflect on what you've learned and discuss this week, and then respond to the following. Do you agree with Dr. Will?
Not all of it.
I agree with almost everything he said.
Yeah. I kind of do too, to be honest. He was very down to the basic. Some of his stuff was a little old, but for the most part, he was pretty accurate.
Plus, he likes baseball, so that makes me love him more.
Mm-hmm.
Kathy, you mentioned not all of it. What's the not all of it that you don't agree with? I'm just curious.
Actually, I disagree with everything he said. I mean, I can't remember every single thing that he said, so I don't want to say everything in case I'm not remembering something. But I mean, I would say pretty much I agreed with almost everything he said. I just don't want to commit to 100% because I can't remember everything he said in that 45 minutes.
Well, the one thing he said that when I talked to my husband about it is he said that Medicare and Social Security have not changed since its inception, which is untrue over the years to the programs. So he made it sound like it was exactly the same as it was when it was, you know. So
Well, I think
he talked
changes over the
I'm
years.
not right the same way.
So he talked about the problem being, what was it, retirement and medical. And that was a problem that the country was trying to figure out the inequality of that. So, and that's why they started taxing us, right? So.
Well, the government tries to make their state. I mean, they try to make everything fair for everybody and equal for everybody. But fair and equal are not defined the same way by everybody.
No.
And I don't think that it's the government's place to try and make everything fair for everybody.
And that's why I agreed with what he said. We have to keep our appetites in line with our revenue. Wasn't that what he said? I like that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, to the next one. In what areas do you personally feel the government should be involved and should not be involved in addressing your chosen threat to children and families?
Say that again, you broke up.
Okay, so your chosen threat that you wrote about, it's asking if you feel the government should be involved or should not be involved in addressing your chosen threat to children and families.
So
So
mine
like
is child abuse, so I absolutely think that they should be, because I think that the punishments as of right now are worthless. So,
What was your topic? I didn't quite catch all of what you said.
child sexual abuse,
Okay.
and the government, there's just not, there's statute of limitations, which I don't think there should be. There's weak sentencing, mandatory sentence. I don't even think there's mandatory sentencing. So I think that the government does need to make some changes when it comes to that and needs to get involved on that level.
I did mothers that stay at home, and I thought it was interesting because as I was looking at it, the government is pro and con for both, for mothers staying at home. They have the welfare program, they have the WIC program, they have family assistant programs, they have moms school scholarships who stay home, they have business grants for mothers who stay home. But then on the opposite side, they have funding for working mothers for childcare. Then they have, Obama did that tax where if you're working, anybody but your spouse can get a tax break for childcare, except your spouse. So it was like interesting because the government's doing both. It's like they're supporting both sides. So that to me was a hard thing for me to decide whether or not the government should be involved or shouldn't be involved, because they're supporting both sides for my topic.
Mental health. And I'm kind of conflicted whether or not they should be involved in this, but I mean, that's the one area they keep taking away from funding is for mental health.
Funding? They keep taking away
So,
funding? Is that what you mean?
yeah. They keep closing hospitals that can service these people, you know, and every time they turn around, they're taking more money away from that area. Important, but then they don't realize how many people out there that are homeless are probably in need of those services.
Well, mine is community support, or for young caregivers. So it can go either way. Whether really the government can stay out of it or the government can fit into it. It would be really nice to have some at least local government like this, involved to at least support the young caregivers, at least to get some involvement, so that the local community can get some groups together to assist them, like set up community support. But I don't think the federal government really needs to get involved, in my opinion. I don't need all this information.
Well, my topic is cohabitation, and politics seem to want to be involved with the decision on whether or not, cohabitation is a good thing or a bad thing. But then at the same time, it's almost like they have that want, but they don't do anything about it. And I almost feel like that's kind of the right choice for them, just to kind of stay out of it. Because, the government, they are there to help us and to, support what our rights are. But that's kind of almost more of a personal choice that people make, and not necessarily one that I think the government would need to be involved in.
More of a moral issue.
Yeah.
So has everybody talked about their threat?
Did we lose Brittany?
So
I think we did.
Yeah, I think we lost.
I re-invited her, but she hasn't come back yet.
Okay, so I
She's
guess
having
we need
computer
to
issues.
summarize. Who's summarizing?
That'd be me. I'm just typing
Oh,
up.
that's right. That's right. Sorry, I forgot.
That's fine. Okay. I'll go back through here and, tweak it. But, first, it says Dr. George will discuss many important topics. Choose one that you personally are interested in understanding and research the following. We, I guess, chose more of a topic of national debt. And it said, why did the government get involved with this issue? And it says, we kind of decided that we are a welfare state and they are creating taxes to help with what is owed. We have become dependent upon the government, and if we don't treat that, it won't be a good thing. They got involved to pay off the national debt. And it says, has it been effective, and what have been the results? We said it can be effective, but not overall. It has created an inequality in taxes for who they tax and the amount that they tax. Too much is used to sway votes in the future, and the good it does is overshadowed by the corruption. Based on George Will's speech, what could the government be doing right now to help with this situation? After all the talking we did, we just sum it all up. It give the people more power and take away power from the government. And with that, we said we needed to get people off the welfare and off the government programs. And when you're on state insurance, they don't make it easy to get off the program. Instead, they promote more people to get on the assistance program. If they don't, along the lines of with the quote, you don't pay to wash a rental car. If you don't have to work for the money that you earn, you don't feel responsible for the money that's given. And we need to encourage people to go ahead and start working for themselves and their money, and stop encouraging people to get things for free. So, let's see. Dr. Will cites a problem no one wants to talk about with the Bonfen-Berners model. How is it issue impacting children and families and communities in our nation? So with the microsystem, it affects taxes and the regulation. For the family, their families might have less opportunities because of the taxes their parents pay. And the mesosystem people are becoming older and needing more Social Security to provide for their needs. Also, I'm not sure which system, you'll have to help me with this, but we mentioned that when a child sees their parents are not working and still living fine, then they feel that they don't need to work. They begin to believe that that's the way they should live and they don't need to work to live. Which system would that be? And I know it's the direct one. I can't think of the
Micro is the direct one, right?
Micro.
Okay. Thank you. According to Dr. Will, one of the things you can do for your country is reserve a spacious portion of your life, which your country is not responsible. Reflect on what you've learned and discuss this week responding to the following. Do you agree with Dr. Will? We agree with almost everything. And we have to keep our appetites in line with our revenue. In what areas do you personally feel the government should be involved and should not be involved in addressing the chosen threats to children and family? We said the government needs to be more involved with sexual child abuse, and the punishments need to be stronger. Mothers who stay at home, they have many things that are for and against a mother on who, sorry, I'm going to fix that real quick, otherwise I won't. Who stays at home, and the government is supporting both. As far as if they need to get in or out, it isn't fair. Mental health, they keep taking funds away from mental health. And again, that was kind of an unsure on whether or not the government needs to be more involved or less involved. Support for children who care for the disabled in their homes. It would be nice to see the community involved with supporting them, but not necessarily the government. And with cohabitation, the government kind of just needs to stay out of it.
Okay.
Any tweaks in there you guys found?
Looks good. Looks good.
All right. I guess that's it. We'll go through our names again. My name's Amanda Kimball.
Jennifer Dodson.
Carrie Peabody.
Kathy Fear.
Jesse Keller.
Kathy Fear.
All right.
All right. So we'll see you next